I guess I'll turn it over now. So thank you for joining us for Let's Grow. It starts here now. And let's have a warm welcome for our presenters, Tekia, Thompson, and Kristen, Donnelly.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Guess we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah.
Take it away.
Awesome. Okay. Hello. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today for Colorful Conversations. We'll talk a little bit about what that is and how that all got started. But my name is Tekia Thompson, and everyone calls me T. And I am a gleaner coordinator part-time with After the Harvest KC, and I am an assistant manager part-time at 10,000 Villages Fair Trade Store in Overland Park.
All right, I'm Kristen Donnelly. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Kansas, and right now I do family therapy with clients who suffer with eating disorders. So that's been, quite a journey the last 4 years working with that. And Tekia and I are best friends. Been friends 20 years, and and so I don't know, it's the way that we kind of came about Colorful Conversations. She and I have a lot of mutual friends, of course, and then just lots of various people not long after the killing of George Floyd, just wanting to talk about this, our white friends especially just wanting to try to understand. I think it was a really pivotal moment for a lot of people, asking a lot of questions. And so initially, I think pretty early on after that happened, I'd been thinking about it, and I was like, what do you think about us doing like some sort of a formatted something? And what did you say?
I said, no.
She said, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that. That sounds difficult.
And I said, you're right. I don't want to do that either. So we didn't. For about a month or so, and then it just kept coming around. We really felt called to create something that was a space that was safe for people to talk about race and ask the ugly questions about why things are the way they are and what's okay, what's not okay. And we just were blown away by the amount of participation we had and the response from people. Can you tell them about that response?
Well, I can say that we put it out there to the community and said, hey, okay, we're not experts. We are just two Black women who really feel like like Kristen said, we want to create a safe space. We know that this is just a really hard topic, and we could go either way with it, but we decided, we want to create this safe space. And so we put it out there, and I think we honestly thought we'd have like 3 friends be like, yeah, we'll chat. 4 friends. But then when we got 67 people, I was like, I'm sorry. Who are you? Where are you coming from? So 67 people responded, and well, we created 13 different sessions, each 2 hours long, for small groups. We broke that 67 people down into smaller groups just to have one-on-one, very open. So nothing was recorded because we wanted, again, to create this safe space for, Kristen always says, say it messy. So we had that space for that. And then we also did 2 community presentations, and that's kind of spurred what we are going to talk to you about today. But before that, we kind of put together kind of like the intentions of Colorful Conversations. Did you want to share a little about that?
Yeah, so this is just kind of what we came up with, and we thought it'd be helpful for you guys to know like the spirit with which we wanted to talk about this today. So what we wrote previously was the focus of Colorful Conversations is to create a grace-filled space in which our white friends and family have the opportunity to openly share their thoughts, concerns, ideas, and perspectives on racism and its very real impact, as well as listen to our unique perspectives and experiences as Black women in America. We'll lead these discussions with a spirit of grace and humility, meeting people where they're at in order to build a bridge toward cultural and personal change. And I think truly the grace-filled intent and the idea of meeting people where they're at, knowing that people are in many different places and thinking about this from many different perspectives is the kind of central point of what we want to share.
Yeah. And I think in meeting people where we're at, the thing we always share is that, we don't know what's in someone's cup. That cup could be filled with, a lot of nasty stuff, right? And so our goal is not to point fingers and, judge, at least, again, for us, this is our personal feelings on things, but, our job is to maybe tip that cup over a little bit so that you can fill it with some good stuff. So that's kind of how Colorful Conversations came about and what we're working with today. One of the recent community ones we did was kind of focused more on like, hey, how do we talk about this with our kids and our families? And again, we're not experts, but we were happy to share our experiences so that maybe just in knowing those things, it could help some other families. And the response was really, really powerful that we got back. It was kind of overwhelming, really, because again, I'm a gleaner. I don't really do this. Is not a professional thing for me. So to kind of share that with you today, we thought we'd take what we did there and put it in a nutshell for you here. And so our general format, we'll kind of share about, we have some videos we want to share and some questions that came with those videos. And I know that Kristen will share those and we'll go from there.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We'll get started. Well, just for a little intro, each video that we're going to share, there are 3 of them. They're very short. And they are created by Procter & Gamble. Actually had a beautiful response to the question of what is race in America. Several different topics within each of these videos, and it gave us a really great format to help people just start talking and asking questions. And so, like Tekia said, we're going to show each video and kind of talk about some of the most pivotal questions that came out of that. And answer those here. And so hopefully that'll spark more questions maybe from you guys at home. So we'll go ahead and start.
Yep.
So this first video is called The Talk.
See, looks like we're having some audio issues here. Let me see if we can get this figured out here.
Are you not able to hear it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Let's see if we can troubleshoot this. Are there captions?
You go back and
Captions?
to hit the thing.
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Yeah, we'll stop.
Let's stop sharing, reshare here. If we can. Oh, what was that?
It's
Somebody said something about what to do there.
the check marks on the page. You have to optimize the audio.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. We'll get that fixed.
There you go. One more time.
Who said that?
The lady at the store.
That is not a compliment.
Listen, it's an ugly, nasty word, and you are going to hear it. Nothing I can do about that. But you are not going to let that word hurt you. You hear me?
There are some people who think you don't deserve the same privileges just because of what you look like. It's not fair. It's not.
Remember, you can do anything they can. The difference is you gotta work twice as hard and be twice as smart. Come straight home after practice. You got your ID? Oh, guess I stopped you.
How's your review?
We're good.
You good?
Yeah,
You see?
we're good.
Okay, good. Now, when you get pulled over,
I'm a good driver. Okay?
baby,
Don't worry.
this is not about you getting a ticket. This is about you not coming home.
I'm gonna be okay. Right?
Okay, baby.
It's not fair. But you keep showing up.
You are not pretty for a black girl. You are beautiful, period. Okay? Don't ever forget that.
Okay, is everyone able to hear that okay, you think, KG? Is that good? Awesome. Yeah, so that's powerful video. And one of the questions that came about that from a group was what did you wish some white people or your friends knew when you were growing up? So basically they asked the question of like, when you were growing up as a child and you had all these, different, because I had a lot of, white friends. I grew up in Kentucky. There's like, what was the one thing you wish they would know? And I remember I wish that I wish that their parents would have instilled in them, this shade of melanin is beautiful and it's okay. And it's, it's created for a purpose and it's not the leftovers. It's, I'm a part of this beautiful tapestry. And so I had a lot of white friends when I was younger still call me the N-word because they thought, well, my parents used it. And that's fine. You're my in friend, right? And I'm like, that's not who I am. I'm your friend Tekia. I remember being at a sleepover and the one girl, her mom was yelling at us to like finally clean up the place because you know how girls are and tearing things up. And so she, it was like the 5th time she had said, I need you to get in here and pick this stuff up. And I remember her yelling up the stairs, do I look like some kind of end to you? I'll get to it when I get to it. And I was so devastated because I was like, she's supposed to be my friend. But if that's what she's been taught, where do I go from here? How do we make this happen? So for me, I listened to those things, how she said it's a nasty word and you're going to hear it. And I heard it a lot, kind of on the regular when I was growing up. And it was one of those things where I thought, gosh, I wish that their parents would know that that's not the case so that they could teach them that that's not the case because they're just spilling that onto me. And to celebrate that diverse beauty of who we are, kids don't think about those things until somewhere down the line they're taught, right? You don't see like, oh, well, what's wrong with, they don't think it is wrong until someone says, Kia's a different color than you are. What do you think about that? And then all of a sudden these light bulbs go off and they're just like, oh, well, maybe something is wrong. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be friends. And it kind of just trickled down from there. And so I truly wish that they had been taught that my Black is beautiful and it's okay.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think Tekia and I have talked a lot about our just vastly different experiences growing up. I grew up here in Kansas City in Wyandotte County. And so I think, I had a fairly diverse growing up experience overall, I think. And a lot of times I think mine, what I experienced as a young kid was a lot of just insecurity because I had such a variety of friends and white friends. There is always sort of this undercurrent of feeling like your white friends are a little bit better than you. And so there was this sense of trying to ascribe to that. And then also growing up in Wyandotte County, feeling the weight of that, just sort of the local cultural expectation that you should act a certain way and talk a certain way and be a certain way as a Black person coming from that area, and all the assumptions associated with people of color from that part of the city. And so I really felt this need to sort of present myself kind of like that mom said, like, you need to be smarter and think faster and all of those things, even though my parents weren't necessarily pushing that for me. I felt that need to present myself in a different way because I wanted people to see me as me, not see me as a Black kid from Wyandotte County and all of the sort of implications of that. And so I think these are things, at least for me, I mean, more maybe in a different way than Tekia, that I'm only now like looking back on and seeing all of this as we're having some of these deep conversations with people about how much that influenced me as a person and my development. So just the value of having parents who are demonstrating what it is to be promoters of equality and promoters of justice is more powerful than you might think. And I've worked with kids a ton in lots of different sectors and kind of developing a career, even as a young teen working with kids and seeing how influential parents are in the structure. And it far, far more than any words that you're going to say, it's going to be what you demonstrate. And so I think to that end, one of the questions that really came up was, how do I teach my kid how to be different than what might be a norm in our culture, where people make lots of racial assumptions or this undercurrent of sort of racial bias that exists. We are in this system that exists. And so, as we've talked about it a lot, I really see it, and this is just, from my own opinion of working with kiddos, this idea of kind of taking almost an anti-bullying stance to it, which is very familiar for lots of kids because it's a part of school curriculum even now. But truly, especially if you're raising white children, helping them to understand just the nature of what privilege is. And then knowing, because you have privilege in some way, and we all have some degree of privilege depending on what that looks like, we want to use that privilege to leverage more privilege for other people. So if we have a platform, we want to use that platform to help other people be lifted up. And kids can really understand that little, 3 and 4. I was a preschool teacher too, so I know for sure they can do it. And things as simple as just expressing kindness, empathy, compassion. Those are things we talk about it for adults, but we don't really influence our children to think about that. And unfortunately, the dark side of social media and the media, all of that influence for kids, is that they lose social context so much, and the ability to see in somebody else, oh my goodness, could that really happen to me? And if that could happen to me, I don't want it to happen to my friend. Like the difference it would have made for Tekia's friend as a little girl to think like, what if this was me? How that would have shaped her vision of speaking about Tekia or referencing that name, that word, in the way that she did. It changes things when kids understand that we are very diverse, and yet there are many similarities between us. And so I think these are things that parents can definitely do. So teaching kiddos to stand up for and not be a bystander to incidents of racial bullying that might occur, and whether that's directly to another kiddo or indirectly, hearing a friend talking nasty about other races of people, not just Black people, but people of color. Be the kid that says, hey man, that's not cool. Don't talk like that. I have a friend that is that, or I know somebody that is that, my aunt is that, whatever it is. And let other kids know that's offensive and not okay, to be the voice of, going in the opposite direction of what could be the norm. And that is a scary thing to do, but I think so important to learn little that you need to be able to speak into things that are problematic.
Right. Because if you think about it, we're telling kids, you can do anything, you can do this, you can do this, and you can be this. Well, you know what? You can also be an ally. You can also be an activist. You can also be an advocate. You don't have to hit 18, 19, you don't have to hit 30 before you can start doing those things. And so I think, like you said, it's important that we can speak. I talk about speaking life into people all the time. I think we can speak these things into our kids, into our families now. So the next video we're going to show is called The Look. And it kind of just talks about, we'll see.
We'll let it speak for
We'll let you watch.
powerful video. I remember first watching it and not knowing where it was going to go, and then feeling pretty emotional at the end of it. And I think just so short and so poignant, and such a just real capture of what can be the Black experience. And it's really important that we don't want to generalize that this is everyone's experience, and it is many people of color's experience. And I would say particularly for Black males. I have a brother, and so I think in seeing it, whenever I see a Black male around that age, I think a lot about what his experiences has been in that. And I think so important for us as human beings to be able to understand our own implicit bias. And even as people of color, like Tekia talked about this, we have it. We're born into a world that is sort of fraught with this. And so we are certainly just part of that culture experiencing those things. And so I find myself making the same assumptions that a white counterpart might make about certain people in certain parts of the city, and how comfortable and safe I feel, not knowing that person's story at all, but making lots and lots of judgments about that. So I think this is really, really, really critical for parents to be able to be self-reflective about everything. But when we're talking specifically about this, kids need to be able to see their parents make mistakes and then speak to those mistakes. And I think we've all probably been guilty of things like this came up in one of our conversations, like telling a story and we're including the races of the people that we're talking about when it's really irrelevant to the story itself. Like, oh, this Mexican man came into the store last week. Why is that relevant? And so when we catch ourselves being influenced by our implicit bias, that's just a part of what we're in, being able to say, oh, you see what mom did right there? That was unnecessary. Sorry about that. That's really not needed to talk about people's race, unless we're celebrating the diversity. And it's those things that are really poignant for kids. They pick up on that, and the ability to do that, the ability to show that you're learning and growing, is more impactful on your children than you could ever imagine. So that I think is something we really want to encourage families to have conversations. Like, commercial like this comes up, it's a perfect opportunity to stop and ask your kids, what did you see there? What do you think about what you saw? Kids have a lot to say and think, very small even, and getting them to put their electronics down and be face to face with you to talk about some hard stuff now at small ages or even as teens, really can develop something greater for the future for them.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that, another question that was brought up that I was thinking about, but I wasn't sure how to approach the subject. And so it was great. One family asked, she said, well, how do we, what do we do as parents, with, our kids, and they have their friends coming over, like all those different things. How do we help navigate that? And I think it's important, because I was this kid that whenever I went to my white friend's house, there was an undercurrent of anxiety always, because they lived in a very affluent neighborhood, an all-white neighborhood. And I was always like, am I going to be okay? What's going to happen? And I remember playing hide and go seek and being pulled over by a police officer and questioned, what are you doing running around here doing all these things? And I thought, well, first of all, we're playing hide and seek and you totally just blew my cover. So now I got to find a new place. Thanks. But it was more of like, wow, I was the one that was stopped because I was the one that was not supposed to be there. And so for me, I've shared with other parents that I just feel like if you have the opportunity, if you have a Black child coming over to your house to hang out with your kid, if you can reach out to their parents and just say, hey, we know your kid's coming over to hang out. We just want you to know, for the time that they're here, they are our kid. They are safe. This is a safe space. Nothing's going to happen to him or her. We got this. And I think that would have done so much for my mom, because I know she did call and check in a lot. How's she doing? Is everything okay? And it wasn't, oh, she doesn't do well with groups. It was, hey, is my daughter safe? Do I need to come get her because things are happening in that neighborhood, kind of thing. And I can remember that time and time again happening. And so I've always shared and just said, reach out to the parents and let them know they're good. And one example I remember was a friend of mine said, she's I think she's a teenage age, and she's dating a young Black man, and not realizing how many times he gets stopped when he's coming to see her. But he didn't want to share that because he's like, hey, I'm dating your daughter, I don't want to mess this up. So there's just all those things that are happening that are not being shared. And first of all, we need to create a space for those things to be shared, right? Because you're holding all that in. But if there's a way for you to reach out, if you're the guardian, parent, whatever your role is, but to reach out to those other adults and just let them know they are safe, it's fine. We are going to do everything in our power. We are an advocate. We are an ally. We are going to step up. We're going to step in. We are going to make sure that the situation is safe for them. And I think that's another way you can kind of, because the look does happen. Even, he's obviously a grown adult in that, but the look happens when you're a child. I mean, got stopped for playing hide and seek. So, so that's just something to think about. You want to add anything to that? Or?
Yeah. No, I think you covered it really well. Yeah.
Well, we have one more video that we're going to show, and then we'll follow up. And I know there might be some, we're trying to keep in with our time in case there are any questions. So we'll jump right into that.
Yeah, sounds good. So last one, but a powerful one. What do you want to add for that one?
Well, add to that one. Well, first of all, if you were on the call earlier, or not call earlier, but the Races United KC webinar earlier, she mentioned, don't apologize for being white. And we fully agree. We agree with that. Like, you didn't just go up to a vending machine and like pick all these things. So don't apologize for being white. But I think in terms of what, that video talked about and how we can maybe step into action and highlight things with families is just, let's just celebrate this beautiful tapestry of who we are. As a gleaner, I'm out all the time in the field and I'm looking at all the beauty that this earth is. And I took a picture, I was at a garden and took a picture of this just vast array of gorgeous flowers, right? Every colors that Crayola will never even think about making because it's just so amazing, right? And I took that picture and I posted it, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, it's so great. And I boldly stated, why is it that you can see so much beauty in all of these colors, but not in me? What is that about? Where is the disconnect? What happened? What is it about this shade of melanin that makes you so afraid, that puts you on edge? I don't get it. But you can see beauty and color in so many other things in this world, but not us. And so I encourage families, you know, whatever you look like, to celebrate that. If you are a family and you have, you know, your biracial family, if you are a family of who has adopted a Black child, you know, again, don't apologize for being white, but celebrate the beauty of your Black child that you have in your home, and all the different ways you can do that. And so I think it's important. Communication is important. Sitting down at a table, talking, learning about different things, and building opportunities for yourself to, if you don't have diversity in your world, what does it look like for you to get that? Not in a way that's becomes tokenism, because we definitely want to avoid that, right? But in a way that enriches your life, that encourages you to learn and grow and seek more. So that's kind of what I've been sharing with families as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think if you might show, we really loved the action steps at the end of the last video, and thought it might be helpful to just talk real briefly on each of those, specifically to kind of how families could embrace those steps, because people always want to know. That was the prevailing question of all of the conversations we had before this, is what can we do to make a difference? And so I think this speaks to that. So I'm going to actually share the screen so you can see a resource page, and I'll let Tekia kind of scroll through that slowly so you can see it as I'm talking, just to kind of optimize our time for us. So. All right, so the first thing that they listed was read. And so this is kind of going to be a part of that. Yeah, just helping with being able to find resources that give you information. So this website, we can share that link so that you have it, but you can see it up there. It's Healthline, which is great, a great resource for a lot of different things. But I love that they have this all kind of categorized. They have it for families, they have it for parents, they have it for kids, toddlers, teens, as you scroll through, and all kinds of media, books, podcasts, all kinds of things like that. So get out there and enlarge your understanding of what is going on for us culturally, and recognize this affects us all. Listen, so getting to know more about the people in your life who are people of color, and if you don't know those people, like Tekia said, try to figure out why. Just get to know what it is in your life that might allow you to have more diversity, because diversity is important. If you've got kids that are friends with kids of color or Black kids, please become a safe space for those kids, not just to talk about racial issues, but any issues, because their experiences of those things are going to be influenced directly by their race. And we know that culturally. They said donation is not just about finances. Certainly you guys can, as families, find organizations that really celebrate what you value, along with social justice, and donate your time to organizations like Casey Farm School, or to things like 10,000 Villages going down, and they need volunteers as well. They're a nonprofit, but also using your money there, because that impacts people who are people of color all over the world, not just here, and some here locally too. So donate to organizations that pour back into colorful communities. I think those are ways to celebrate and strengthen those communities as well. Plan. So work together as a family to kind of determine how you want to approach this as your family. So definitely kids have ideas, and let them talk about their ideas, share about things they could do to be helpful. You got a neighbor that needs their grass cut, that's a person of color, and you want to get to know them better. Cut their grass and get to know them better as people, and not, like Tekia said, for tokenism, but so that you grow in relationship with them.
And kids are so imaginative, so they don't think in this little box, so
absolutely,
definitely.
Yeah. So March was on there. Tekia and I had the privilege a couple months ago of, because we're both Christians, we went to a prayer on truth rally, and it was about just the redlining in our city and how powerful that has been. And so that was something that was a value for each of us that we shared in, and there were tons of families at that. even if you are not somebody who is a person of faith, but you have strong values and beliefs, your family values can drive you toward figuring out, are there rallies, are there marches, are there things that we can participate in actively to show that we really believe this is important. Those types of things speak volumes to kiddos. Then they had vote, of course. We see just the power of voting just over these last few days. But getting to know the people in your cities, involving your kids in those conversations about, our government and what parts of our system might still be really infused with racial injustice and why that matters, and trying to select leaders who, to the best of their ability, want to choose things that celebrate racial harmony and diversity. Do your research. So what I just shared, I think that resource page and many, many more. I think you said one of the libraries locally has a huge
Casey
resource
Library
page.
has one. Yep.
Casey Library. So, and then Step In. So again, that same idea, anti-bullying. When you see something, say something, truly teaching kids that they can be the voice of change just by not letting things roll. And then finally, stepping up, be willing to challenge people as parents, and also demonstrating for your kids, like if there's family members making comments that are inappropriate or having conversations or treating people poorly, show as a parent what it's like to honorably, respectfully challenge people. That will go a huge, long way to helping your kids see that this is the way that they should be as citizens of the world, and people who really love racial justice.
Yep.
All right.
We kind of flew through that a little bit, but got to kind of get it all in there. But stay on time. Hopefully it didn't go over time. I've been trying to watch the time, but we just want to thank you all so much for allowing us to be a part of this whole experience, to build community, to speak life into each other, to do life together. And again, like I said, we're not experts. This isn't everyone's experience, but we hope that the experiences that we have shared and the things that we have learned have been impactful and helpful to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. We have a few minutes here for questions. We'll wrap it up in about 2 minutes to the hour, so we can just close this out. And it looks like we got a question here from Alicia. How do we approach an uncomfortable situation with family, friends, or strangers?
Yeah. So, a lot of times I talk to my clients, patients a lot about this idea of intent versus impact. And so truly when it's people that you love, grace has got to be on the table first. I mean, you really want to go into it knowing that there's a good possibility that people do not have the intention to be hateful or racist. Sometimes they do, but most often they don't, as what we found, honestly. And I'll just speak for myself personally, and that's what I found, is people are often very ignorant. And so I think going into it with that mindset and approaching it in that way to say, I want to believe, and I do believe that this isn't what you meant, and here's how I heard it. And so be curious with them about that. Where'd that come from? And can you tell me why you think like that? So be curious, I think is usually a helpful place. If you can try to get to where you can have a conversation that invites your understanding of their perspective, it's going to go a lot farther than sort of directly challenging things initially. You absolutely want to be able to challenge things, but simply by questioning it, you are doing just that. You're challenging it. And it causes people to step back and think. And we've had friends who've said, oh my gosh, I didn't see the world like this at all until we talked about this. And so people can change. There is that, possibility for many people. And there will be some people who will not, and who will be angry. And so you have to be able to go into it knowing that you are not the owner of that person's response. You simply own your ability to be kind, respectful, but direct about what is helpful and what is unhelpful.
Yeah. And I think I would also just say, again, we've talked about the whole conference, we talked about meeting people where they are, right? And remembering that cup. And, you know, you don't know what has been poured into their cup. And for me, I always think, okay, if there's a bunch of nastiness that's been poured in, you know what I'm expecting to come out? A bunch of nastiness. And so that gives me a frame of a reference to work with, to build on, and again, to walk in grace. And, you know, I may leave the conversation and it may not go the way I hope, but at least I've met them where they are. I've talked to them about it, I've shared my perspective, listened to them, and hopefully we can come to an understanding. It's not always easy. It's not rainbows and butterflies, that's for sure. But that is a way that I think has helped both of us.
Definitely.
See, we got a question here from Lydia. She says, what are some similar characteristics of the white folks you can really trust sharing your experiences with? Are there any? If there are.
There are some. I think this openness to want to learn has been the most consistent thing I've seen about people who truly care, and people who in humility are able to say, I didn't know that and I was wrong. That has gotten a huge, like, Tekia and I have a mutual friend who is almost 70, and she's an incredible, amazing woman. And in this process of like trying to learn for herself, like she sought this out, she sought us out, and said, I did not see you in the same way as all these other people over here. I didn't know that this could happen to you, and I was wrong because I made assumptions about your experience. And already loved her, and so of course that wouldn't have changed anything, but just the power of knowing that she cared enough to work on it for herself, and to be so humble to come to us unsolicited and say, this is what I learned, and I'm wrong, I was wrong, that hurt you because I made assumptions about your experience. That I mean, I can't say more about that. Just the ability, and it's something we all need to be able to do as humans, but to say, I didn't see that correctly in the past, I was wrong.
Yeah, like, and like definitely the openness and just this ability to ask questions and listen to hear instead of being ready with the comeback has been huge, and so life-giving. And I feel like that has been the reason why we've been able to build so many bridges and like filter out to so many different people, because we've had so many, like you said, characters of white people come to us and ask us questions, but then they're just like, okay. And we've had, you know, I mean, we've had some that have just really been like, well, what about it? And da da da, and all these things. But I mean, that kind of puts you on edge, right? And so to have those conversations and to have that trait, that mindset of like, I'm gonna ask you a question, but it's with the intent for me to listen and hear and not come at you with what I already think and know. So hopefully that answered your question.
All right, well, that's going to bring us right up to about 3 o'clock. Tekia and Kristen, thanks so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our attendees for joining us today for Colorful Conversations. We'll hopefully you'll stay with us. Up next, we have Building a Sustainable Earth Community, or Native Plants for Beauty and Pollinators. So we look forward to seeing for y'all, and let's grow. It starts here now.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
KG.
everybody.
You're awesome.
Thank you, KG.
Bye.
Bye.